MyFantasySportsTalk.com.
Last week on My Fantasy Podcast. But here's my thing with college football, and sorry to get off topic of the soccer talk. We'll talk about that in a second. But you're right though. It really does nail down a great college football conversation. Here's my biggest problem with the college football, and thank you, greater NCAA powers that finally did come through and get hit in the head hard enough to say, yeah, I think we need a playoff. And expanding it to, or at least creating it with 4 teams. But here's my problem with that. You got 5 Power 5 conferences. So not even all of your best conferences would ever be represented in a playoff. It's impossible. The numbers don't add up. So you got to have at least more than 5. What's up, podcast peeps? We back. All of us, well, most of us anyway, the usuals, the regulars are back on the podcast. It's My Fantasy Podcast from MyFantasySportsTalk.com. Another episode coming to you. Episode 38 of 2017. My man Dan, my co-host, is back in the co-host seat. Are we going to hit 40 episodes this year?
I don't think mathematically we can unless we double up. So probably not, no.
2 the rest of the year. Anyway.
Yeah, 19, the 19th, yeah, I don't see that happening. Nope. But we'll strive for that in 2018.
Yep. There you go. But that's huge. Huge. A lot of episodes, a lot of 2-hour episodes that a lot of you guys have watched most of. So appreciate that. Big, long year for you guys in 2017. Appreciate it. And I am Brandon Reed, and that is Dan Shaw. I'm going to bring in my man Orlando Torres here just a little bit. He missed the podcast last week too, so it's going to be a big reunion today. That's what it's going to feel like. And what we're going to do today is first we're going to start out and we're going to talk about the catch, the catch from last week's game, Pittsburgh and New England. Y'all know what I'm talking about. We're going to touch on that. Since Dan and Orlando were not on the show last week, we're also going to talk about LeVar Ball, as if y'all didn't hear me rant enough about that last week. But I do want to, and I'll sit back, I'll be quiet. Y'all heard what I had to say last week, and I just want to get Dan and Orlando's opinions because I'm interested in the subject. So that's that. Jeff Fisher looking to possibly get back in coaching. We'll briefly talk about possible landing spot for him. And we also got another NFL head coaching question in our mailbags this week. Well, we'll look at the NFL playoff scenarios. Who is in, who is pretty in, and then who has some work to do. Talk about that. And the MFST playoffs are going on. Dan. Yes, you got it, man.
Feels good.
I think you put up the biggest point day I've seen all season, possibly last week.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously you put up big point days when your team is stacked, and I think we've known all season. I've said weekly how good my team is, and we've had some doubters along the way, doubters of Romo the dog, and one happens to be my co-host who has already started to throw shade and love towards my opponent this week, but
he ain't won nothing yet.
Man, it feels good. It does. It does.
Let me tell you something, though, Dan.
Back championship appearances.
Let me tell you something, though, Dan. It's only for your own good, because every time you start talking trash, for the most part, is when you start going like that. Your cockiness drives you into some holes sometimes, and I'm thinking maybe you need to take the more humble approach here. Be humble.
I mean, I was pretty humble last week. I actually didn't like my odds of advancing, but my team showed up when I needed them the most. And I haven't talked smack directly to Malachi. I'm glad Malachi David, who is meeting me in the championship game, I'm glad it's both MFST writers because as listeners of the show, we obviously opened it up to you guys and to fans of the site, and we had to in the semifinals. So it could have been a fan championship, but instead it's MFST times 2 in there. So I look forward to it. It's the way I look at it, it's probably the 2 best teams. Malachi's got a really solid team that, struggled to start off the year, but I would say the second half, he might have been one of the best teams in the league. So I'm excited about the matchup, and I like my chances. I like my team despite, despite Marcus Mariota still being my starting quarterback.
Well, but tell everybody how you got those points the last week. Dan, you did have Todd Gurley, who had a huge game, and
basically everybody. I mean, I think I had every single player in double digits for me, even my kicker, my defense. Overall, I just had a really great week up and down the board. Obviously, Gurley and Kareem Hunt had like 48 and 38 points next to each other, but overall my team was solid. I liked it.
Yep. Big time. So yeah, that's the main thing, that the fans weren't going to meet each other for the championship, because I think that's what happened in baseball.
Yeah, it is. Me and you, we were in the semifinals, I believe, and we both fell apart there. That was a little rough, but Susan Bianco, shout out. She was the one who took home the fantasy baseball, I believe. So they bested us there, but it's not going to happen in football, and it's not going to happen in basketball either.
Dakota Day and Dennis Durso, though, props to you. Made a heck of a run, knocked out a lot of our guys.
It sucks for Durso. He put up 120 and lost, so that's definitely tough. He would have beaten multiple opponents on any given week with that score, but he went up against the best. So next time, DD.
See what I'm talking about, y'all? See what I'm talking about? Dan's going to feel bad next week on the podcast. Next time when he comes back, like, man.
Let's just talk about Prestige Worldwide, and thankfully he lost, because we all know how terrible his team was. And if he was going to make the championship game, I think this whole MFST league would be in shambles. So I'm just proud of Malachi for being able to beat him, because his 55 points last week. Yeah, I mean, that's basically what we got all year. That's it. Just had to throw that out there. More shade towards the fans. That's why you got to come battle us next season.
Yep, it's a full league right now, man. 14 it makes it tough, and the little nuances of the league too, like the 20 acquisition limit.
That's me crying. That's me being you. You get it?
With no IR spot. Cross some tears for that too.
Oh, no breathe. Let me get a tear.
This is things I've never ever had ever in a league ever. You wallop the champ.
You can't say that anymore because you've had it.
No, man. Also, we're going to tweak it in committee meetings this July. Let's bring in our man from San Antonio back with us after missing last week, and along with Dan. It was just me and DDT last week. So I don't know if y'all listened to the show, but we missed you guys and wanted your take on a lot of these conversations. So you get to do that this week. What up, Orlando? So we're having some difficulty with Orlando's mic there. So we'll get that fixed and straightened out and get him back in here. But so really LeVar Ball, man, that's what I want to talk to you about. I'll get your opinion on that in a second, but I wasn't going to let y'all escape without talking about this week. But anyway, we'll get Orlando over here in just a second. What we're going to kick off the show talking about is, of course, I mentioned the catch that happened in the Pittsburgh Steelers game, Pittsburgh New England game this week. So, man, Dan, you of all people know how bad this is to get burnt by something like this with the Dez catch from just about 3 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sucks if you're a Steelers fan, but when you're looking at the rule, I mean, it wasn't a catch. So I'm not too broken up about it. I've dealt with that in my demons after that playoff game where Dez did catch it. But looking at, I've grown as a person. I've read more into the rule book, and as it states, whether the rule is proper or not, I mean, it wasn't a catch. You got to keep possession of the ball through falling to the ground, and he didn't do that. So it's a tough luck, and it works out in the Patriots' favor, and everybody's going to look at it and say, oh, it's the Patriots. But bottom line is, I mean, he didn't catch the ball, and with replay, it got overturned, and rightfully so.
Well, what the hell is a catch in the NFL? As I was just talking to you about, Dan. The dude caught the ball with both hands firmly secure, went down to his knees, turned into the football play, dove over the goal line, and the ball hits the ground and moves a slight bit. What the hell is a catch? If that ain't a catch, I mean, dude, come on. As soon as his knees hit the ground, he really should have been a catch. So that's all. My point is, this has only become this rule, and the guys bringing up this rule, 65-A in the rule book, it actually wasn't a catch. It drives me crazy. Come on now, be realistic. So let's talk about real football. This is the catch all day long 10, 12, 15 years ago, and you guys know that. All these legends would have had fewer catches and probably miraculous plays in their resume had they been calling it now with sports science 360 hover cams around the arena, slowed down in slow motion in super high definition 4K on their little tablets under an umbrella. It's changed, and technology's changed the game in this case in a bad way. It's evolution, but in a bad way that's kind of taking us backwards, and I'm tired of it, man. I'm just absolutely tired of it. Orlando, are you with us now, man?
Yeah, I should be with you now.
There we go. Much better. Sorry about that. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show.
I'm finally happy to be back, man. I'm sorry I missed last week. Had some stuff going on, but I'm glad to be back with the show. And it was good to see you and Didi carrying the ship last week.
You know what? I just thought about. I think the last show you were on, Orlando, you weren't even on. You were in the Invisible Man.
I was invisible. Yeah, it's been a rough year to close out the year. So, but I'm here. So. I'm glad to be here, but yeah, I don't know what was going on. I was invisible. Then today I was talking, and I came off as muted. But I'm glad we got that cleared up.
Finally, you're finally back. That's a long hiatus right there. I think the week before that we didn't even do a show, or maybe it's been a while. So wow, man, glad you're back. So first thing, talk about what me and Dan were just talking about is this catch, man. I think you got an unbiased opinion about it. I mean, you're a Cowboys guy. I don't know that you really hate or love the Steelers or the Patriots, do you?
Nah, I really don't have nothing against either team. It was a great game, but it's listening to them explain what a catch was. I mean, looking at it seemed like a catch. Watching the ball hit the ground, it's just a really crappy rule. I think it took away from the game itself. It was an exciting game. You had the Brady drive.
The best thing that could have happened to that game. I don't care which team it was that ended up like that. I mean, 2 plays, it was like 60 plus yards in like 30 seconds, and then man, I really think it ruined the end of the game. Seriously, to me, bad.
Yeah. I think it ruined the game, and just the fact that they had to take so much time to really discuss, and then you got Dan Blandino, trying to cover whether the call or not a call. It's just horrible. It's really horrible. They need to get this situated. You would have figured they would have got this taken care of long after the Calvin Johnson catch, after the Dez Bryant catch, and here we are.
That seems to be when it all started with that Calvin Johnson catch. They implemented new ruling, I guess, that year, it seems. I think that's when it was implemented, and it started off a disaster from the beginning, in my opinion, because I think that Calvin Johnson catch ruined a week 1 game, I believe, a miraculous play that spoiled a week 1 game.
Yeah, and that's something they really need to figure out, because you had the officials saying that wasn't a catch by Jesse James, but then you got Darius Bird clearly out of bounds getting a touchdown. It was just you had some weird calls throughout the whole day. It was you had great games all over, but then you had some questionable calls as well.
Well, yeah, and I think that's what it is. You see a lot more questionable calls, and it's an inconsistency in the NFL. I mean, I understand a lot of it, but it's just the inconsistency, especially with the targeting and the hitting now. I mean, what are these guys supposed to do? Seriously. I heard another guy bring up a good point. As far as when you're on the field in real-time reaction, you dive thinking you're trying to take a guy's thighs out, but he moves, and next thing you know, you're hitting him upside his head. It is totally not your fault. You can't control your body and contort your body that quickly to avoid guys sometimes. And the college game is getting that way too. And, the targeting out in a college game too. So, but yeah, the inconsistency of the calls. But Dan, to bring you back in here, something I think needed to get more attention is it usually does is it was called a touchdown on the field. You need, inconclusive evidence, to overturn undisputable evidence to overturn the original call is what I thought. Was there enough there? I don't care about the rule. Even if the rule is as dumb as you say it is, followed through, to the letter of the law. I mean, was there enough there to say, yeah, for sure, that was not a touchdown when it was called just a few seconds?
I mean, personally, yeah, I think so. I mean, if looking at it letter of the law and then actually watching that ball hit the ground, it clearly moves. His left hand comes off, basically off of it.
We've seen a lot worse, though. That was a very slight.
I mean, it was clear to me when you slowed it down and looked at the replay
that's the problem.
I mean, it was on the ground, basically.
Problem. We're looking at micro fractions of my film. We're blowing it up to the whatever degree. It's getting stupid, man. But yeah, that rule needs to be changed. And Mike Tomlin was talking about that today as he expects it to be addressed in the offseason. But I've heard this before too, and I don't have my hopes up. But it's the act of possession. First of all, I don't think a ground could cause a fumble or to cause you to do that. Me, period. That's just me personally. I don't care as long as you actually had the ball with 2 feet on the ground and then made a football move, which is slight to me. It doesn't have to be this long out dramatic move. Just a football move, which is clearly what James did. He caught it, knees down, turned and dove consciously, knowing what he was doing with the ball in his hand. Dove. It was a 1.5 foot in the end zone by the time the ball hit the ground. Well, I mean, I don't know what a catch is. So what? It moved a little bit in his hand when he hit the ground. What? That's so stupid. That is so stupid. What are we talking about? So I'm the only one on here that thinks this is completely wrong. Orlando, is a travesty not done?
No, I think it's travesty, but I mean, man, I guess you'd rather have it now, so to say. I mean, yeah. It's bad to say than have it rather be like the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, if I'm the Steelers, I'm not afraid of New England. Man, you had that game. You had that game a couple of times. You did blow a lead, but so did New England very quickly. So yeah, whatever. We'll you know what? They're going to be talking about that in July while we're talking about our fantasy football committee rule changes. That's what those are going to be simultaneous meetings there. We need a rule. We're going to implement a rule in our fantasy football league, Dan. Whereas if we think that it really was, we'll give the player the yardage and the points.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Just add it in there.
Wait, what? So then you
have a vote. Like the veto vote of 4, or my trade was vetoed. We'll have a vote. If 4 people vote that those yardage in that play should have counted, because the NFL is stupid, then we'll vote it in. Can't be penalized for that. Think about if you were having to be a Jesse James owner and your playoffs were coming down to that, and I don't know what he did up until that point, but damn, would have been pissed.
Well, you guys didn't have anything to worry about being in a consolation bracket. So
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't even have the stress. I don't even have the stress. I ain't touched my lineup, and man, it's probably been 4 weeks. Okay, but it was a catch. Enough said. So you guys missed the big topic last week. I don't know if y'all caught up with the show, but the LeVar Ball situation. I promised the peeps at home that I wasn't going to take a whole lot of time on this since I spoke on it last week. So, Dan, you tell me this. I mean, you've mentioned this before, man. You can't honestly think pulling 2 kids out of school to do what they're doing. And I don't know if you heard my breakdown of what they're not making money. This is not like a great move. They would be playing on basically the Lithuania team's G League affiliate. So do you honestly think that was a good move? Is this the best thing going on for the big baller brand?
I mean, I don't necessarily. I personally wouldn't pull my kids out of school, but
How do you pull a grown ass man out of college?
But here's the thing: is I mean, LeVar's not going to do. He doesn't have bad interests in mind for his kids. I mean, everything that he's doing, he does believe is actually best.
But I mean, he thinks he can seriously go to the moon. I mean, your expectations got to be, somewhat moderate.
I mean, Tony Robbins, if you went to a positive, one of those speeches that empower you, he's going to tell you to always think positive and shoot for the moon. Don't have those negative thoughts. So instead of going to Tony Robbins motivational speaking, you can go to LeVar Ball's. I mean, that's what it takes to be a big baller. And, listen, LiAngelo wasn't going anywhere beyond UCLA. So if he can play professionally and who knows, maybe develop his skills better, learning the Euro game than anything else, maybe that'll help. And
I completely understand what you're saying, and I do believe he has the best interest. He wants them. Yes, he wants them to be huge, but he's going at it just in a crazy, absurd way. I think I don't know. The thing about it is that to me, it doesn't really matter. I think the BBB is going to flop. It is flopping. It's not doing well financially at all. And he has a lot of the family's money tied up in it. But what's going to bail him out is Lonzo, because he's the real deal. Lonzo is the real deal. 12 times better than his dad ever was. And to me, he's the best ball brother. Not buying LaMelo, and we know LiAngelo is not going to see an NBA floor. But Lonzo's going to bail them all out. Orlando, what did you think about what have you think? I went through the timeline with DDT last week. So the events unfolding from just the summertime, the last 6 months, when him walking off of AAU floors, pulling his team, and now to the China arrest thing, and now both kids are going to Lithuania.
Yeah, and those comments saying that he felt that if China didn't even punish him or his kids as bad as they were in China, that he feels like they're in jail here. And I like LeVar. I think he's great. He cares for his kids. He doesn't make bad business investments. He's never on the news for something, for something wrong, committing crimes or nothing. But yeah, I don't know if I would pull the kids out of school like that. I know he wants the best for his kids, but I think he needs to be, those kids need to be around that environment. They need the coaching. I don't know if he could completely put that in his full hands. And, this is a bit, when I saw it, it was, a bit of an eyebrow raiser. I don't know if I totally agree with this, but I don't know. I don't know why he would do this. I don't know. This is something I wouldn't have agreed with.
Well, and my problem is you're going all in on basketball. You're going all in that both these kids are going to be, pretty well-known names in the sport of basketball and playing professional basketball. So you're going all in on that when they're at such a young age. And I think even if you ask them, LiAngelo and LaMelo, is this what you want to do? And they'll be like, hell yeah. Why? Because they're high school kids. LiAngelo just got out, but no, I don't want to go to classes. I don't want to go to more school. That's for sure. So if you're saying I just got to play basketball for my life now, yeah, I'll take that. But I don't know if that's the best thing for them. So I don't know. It's to be determined, but I don't know. Last words on it, Dan?
Lithuanian superstars.
What?
Lithuanian superstars.
What does that
My
mean?
final word.
What does that mean? They're playing on the G League team anyway, making
Yeah,
$500.
they're gonna ball up that G League, man. They're not gonna those Lithuanian G Leaguers won't know what hit them.
How many pairs of BBB shoes are under your Christmas tree right now?
What if you guys were getting some in the mail? Would you wear
I would sell them to
them?
whoever would want to buy them.
What if they were autographed by the BBB himself?
Hell, that might make me more money. Well, go for whatever you got. Okay.
Hey, I'll gladly take those. I'm size 11. Send them over here.
No,
There you go. All right.
Hey, you did see that Lonzo traded in his shoes last night for the Kobe's since they were retiring his jersey. So it's interesting. I don't know if y'all saw that. Everybody was in the house. Everybody.
Mamba.
Yeah,
That's
man,
all I say. That's Mamba.
he's great, man. I really didn't like him at any point, but he kind of grew on me towards the end of his career because I appreciated what he was doing. You know, he was always a killer. There's never been another killer in the league since Jordan like Kobe. I mean, just that killer. Dude, I don't know how to explain it. It's just that killer. Most guys don't have that, and he had it. Kobe Bean Bryant. All right, so let's talk some NFL and a little bit of coaching news, possibly. We got an NFL mailbag question coming up about coaching possible vacancy. Yeah, I don't know. Is it possible? We'll see. But I do know Jeff Fisher's looking to jump back in the game. Dan, what do you think about that? Does he still hold appeal in the NFL? I mean, these guys just kind of circulate, like your Jack Del Rios, Norv Turners, and guys just circulate. It seems, but is Jeff Fisher having appeal right now? And if so, to who?
To me, I would say no. I would be done if with Jeff Fisher if I was an NFL GM. I know he probably has a soft spot in your heart, Brandon, for guiding the Titans to so many winning seasons. But if you look at his resume, and just the way the NFL is going, I mean, the NFL is hiring younger coaches. They're hiring coaches who are in tune with the new philosophies, like the Sean McVays, like the Kyle Shanahans, even McDermott here in Buffalo. The younger guys.
Are you saying, so while it's on my mind, are you saying that maybe Jeff Fisher was more of a product of his talent with the Titans? I mean, he had Steve McNair, Eddie, not Eddie Lacy, Eddie George, Eric Dyson, Frank Wycheck, guys like that. So you think he was just more of a product of having a lot of talent on his team?
Not that, I mean, that obviously helped, but just back in the early 2000s, the 90s, the NFL was a different game. It was more running influenced. It was defense wins championships, where that's still the case now, but just the game itself has changed so much. It's more innovative. The offensive schemes are a lot more technique driven, more stylish, and I don't think Jeff Fisher is that type of coach. And when you just look at his resume over the last few years, I mean, he hasn't had a winning season since 2008, and over his last 7 years coaching, he averaged a total of 5 wins per season. So I mean, he hasn't had it since 2008, and even prior to that, I mean, he hasn't been able to produce a winning team on the field. So I don't think a lot of teams are going to be looking for Jeff Fisher if they have a job opening. I think you're going to see a lot of younger coordinators look to maybe get the job first instead of some of the older veteran coaches.
All right. Well, I mean, I think he'll still get a job somewhere. I think he's got one more run left in him. It's worth it. I mean, especially if you keep flipping coaches every few years. But I don't know. We'll see. Orlando, what do you think about Jeff Fisher's value right now?
Yeah, no, I don't know if I want to see that again in the NFL. I mean, I know the guy has.
Damn.
I'm sorry. Like, I know the guy has a passion for the game, and the way he, the Rams gave him a deal, then they fired him. I don't think he wanted to go out like that, but I just don't know what team is going to be buying in, and I don't know if it happens. I know he wants to come back. I mean, realistically, I don't know if it happens.
All right. I don't know. We will see about that. Jeff Fisher. See if he can make another run. I don't know. Of course, he wants to get back in the game. I mean, I'm laugh so hard every time John Gruden's name is mentioned for any coaching vacancy anymore. Man, how many times has he got to troll y'all? He's perfectly happy doing what he's doing. I mean, why wouldn't he be? So we'll see. There will for sure be a carousel of coaching in the NFL this year. Was it Marvin Lewis? Marvin Lewis, guys? Dan?
No. Marvin Lewis getting another coaching job? I don't think so.
Has he been fired?
They should repay some.
Has he been fired?
No, I think he's going to leave. It's kind of going to be a mutual parting of the ways at the end of the season.
That's what I'm saying. Is it got to be this year? You think this is it? I mean, come on.
He's done. I mean, I don't see him lasting, getting another year. And I just don't see another team taking a chance. You know what Marvin Lewis is as a coach. I mean, you're going to get a defensive minded team. But I mean, they just make mistakes. They can't win in the crucial times. So I don't think they have a playoff game under Marvin Lewis, and he's the second or third longest tenured coach in the NFL, and they've had multiple appearances. So it's tough. He was able to turn that Cincinnati Bengals franchise around. I mean, they were just perennial losers every year until he took over. But
I think they severely underachieved this year. Severely.
Yeah, I mean, your top 4 quarterback.
And not only that, I think the players, just their spirit, they're not even playing anymore. They're just looking towards the offseason. That you could tell they just completely gave up already on Marvin Lewis.
Yeah, I think this is finally it. And I think that's the reason, like I just named, they severely underachieved this year, in my opinion, anyway.
Well, there you go. Jeff Fisher, Cincinnati Bengals, book it.
Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I didn't say that exactly. I mean, half of that might be right. But all right, so let's take a break from all of that and jump into some NFL playoff scenarios, because we know a lot. We know some teams have clinched already, and then who's hanging on by a thread, desperately needing a couple of wins here in the last couple of weeks to make the NFL playoffs. We break it down next. You're listening to and watching My Fantasy Podcast from MyFantasySportsTalk.com. The crew's back. Brandon Reed, Dan Schultz, Orlando Torres. So, what is going on in NFL playoffs right now? Guys, can I be perfectly frank? I just don't even like this football season anymore. I'm so over it. My fantasy football teams were horrible. The Titans severely underachieved. My pick of the Oakland Raiders and Cincinnati Bengals underachieved. You got some crazy teams. You just got some crazy teams doing some crazy things in the NFL. It's so wishy-washy. All the injuries. It's just like I've been in a funk all football season.
Yeah, I think that probably started out with Eddie Lacy in the summertime. I mean, you were doomed. You were doomed from there, and it kind of just went downhill. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you. This NFL season has been kind of weird. Just, I mean, I look at it in terms of the Cowboy season, the up and down roller coaster of Zeke Elliott, the Dak Prescott's great play in the beginning, bad play in the middle, and now so-so play at the end. So, I mean, it's definitely going to be weird in the NFL playoffs because I just see a bunch of teams that are not going to even compete for a Super Bowl. I mean, I've been on the Minnesota bandwagon all season. I picked them as NFC North champs in the preseason. They're not going to win a Super Bowl. It might be surprising. You might think that. You see what they do in the regular season. I just don't see that as a Super Bowl caliber team.
They don't think they can win 3 games in a row like that.
No, I don't think the Eagles can. I don't think the Vikings can. And those are going to be the top 2 seeds in the NFC. I don't think either of them are even going to be in the NFC Championship game. So I think the NFL playoffs coming up is going to be very exciting. But this regular season, it has the kind of dips and curves in it where some parts were exciting. You had injuries, suspensions, different things like that. But the playoffs coming up, I think, are going to be special because you're going to see a lot of upsets, except the Patriots.
So speaking of the playoffs and the scenarios, let's take a look at the AFC. So New England and Pittsburgh have both clinched. They are both 11-3 after that New England win over Pittsburgh. So they have both clinched their respective divisions, and they're most likely to have the 2 byes coming out of the AFC. Most likely, Jacksonville is 10-4. So, needless to say, they're your AFC South leaders, and I guess they're not champs yet. But I don't know what's holding them back. It sure ain't the Tennessee Titans. So, and then Kansas City right now, just barely on top of that AFC West. Then you got Tennessee 8-6, along with the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. And then playing a 500 ball, Los Angeles Chargers. And then a couple of 6-8 teams. No really shot there. Big disappointment there. Oakland Raiders, Miami Dolphins, Cincinnati Bengals, the Denver Broncos. They may be a huge shot for a lot of folks too. So, Dan, man, what do you think about this AFC, the way it is shaken down and all that stuff I just read?
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of nice stories. Jacksonville ending a 10-year playoff drought. I think the Chiefs are going to be able to hold on. The 6th wild card spot is going to be kind of up in the air right now. It's the Bills to lose. I think. If the Bills win out, they get that 6th spot, and that would end a 17-year playoff drought. But I just don't see any good teams. Like when I say good teams, I mean teams that I think can win the Super Bowl. I like Jacksonville's defense. It's a Super Bowl caliber defense. But can you trust Blake Bortles in the playoffs? Can you trust Leonard Fournette's health? No. And to me, the AFC is the Patriots to lose, and I don't see them losing.
You don't think Pittsburgh scares them just a little bit?
No, not at all. I don't even think Pittsburgh would get past Jacksonville if they played in the divisional round. I'm not sold on Pittsburgh at all.
Okay, well, I'm not sold on New England either. Man.
Well, we are at week 16, and Tom Brady has not missed a game yet. Do you know that?
True. That's true. I don't know how. Because this team hadn't been exactly helping him out either. But it's a mess, man. To me, it's a mess when I look at this. It seems like, say, my Tennessee Titans, I don't even want to see them in the playoffs. I don't care because, like you said, Dan, these teams are not good enough to beat anybody. I don't care anything about doing that, man. They're just not good. It's not fun watching the offense like it used to be again. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Orlando, describe the AFC to me.
Well, it is kind of very muddy because honestly, I don't feel as comfortable about New England. I do like what Tom Brady's been doing. He's definitely in the MVP race, but man, I don't know. I feel as confident as I did coming into the season. Same thing with Pittsburgh. I'm starting to like Jacksonville. I'm not saying they're going to go all the way, but they're going to be interesting. I mean, they could get a bit of a run. I mean, Blake Bortles, seeing him, after that game, in that press conference after the Seattle game was, was quite intriguing to see. It was, again, brought a smile to me, seeing Blake Bortles finding confidence in himself, saying, because that game got chippy at the end with Seattle, the fans, everything like that. But, hearing Blake Bortles say, teams, are getting frustrated with us. They're getting frustrated with the defense. They're not used to. He said they're not used to going to Jacksonville and getting their asses beat for 60 minutes. I kind of like that attitude coming out of Blake Bortles. I mean, he may not be the greatest quarterback, but when Seattle won the championship a couple years ago, when they played the Broncos, I mean, Russell Wilson didn't carry the team. It was really the defense. If the defense could keep playing like that, I think Jacksonville could be a pretty scary team going deep into the postseason. Other than that, I mean, New England's at the top. Antonio Brown with the injury, that's ultimately going to hurt them. I mean, they're going to keep – I like what Juju's doing. They're going to keep feeding Le'Veon, but it's going to be pretty interesting. But Jacksonville I really want to see what these teams could do when they keep this team up.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like the old, I think, 2000 Baltimore Ravens, and they told Trent Dilfer, hey, just don't F this up, man. We got this. Just don't F it up. I think that team could totally be like that. But they are facing or would have to climb at least one, if not both, of the the teams me and Dan just talked about with Pittsburgh and New England. And man, I like Pittsburgh and New England too much to say or predict that Jacksonville would beat one of them. But they're definitely there, man. They got it wrapped up, and those Chiefs are so up and down. I mean, I don't think they could really make a run here. Bills, Ravens, man. I think it's very watered down. It seems to me. I don't know. To me, it's New England and Pittsburgh with Jacksonville honorary mention, I guess.
I mean, I would like to see Baltimore sneak in there over Buffalo. The way they've been playing as of late, Joe Flacco's been having injuries. I like the way Alex Collins has been stepping up.
I just can't believe Baltimore's passing game has been so bad. I don't know. Is Flacco lost it, or they just don't have enough weapons around him now?
Well, he's had a bad back injury. He's barely getting back, but I like the way Alex Collins been playing, and John Harbaugh's been doing a pretty good job coaching the team. It would be nice to see Baltimore sneak in at the 6. I'm not saying they're going to make any noise in the playoffs, but they've been one of the better teams playing as of late in the AFC.
I just as soon see them play as Tennessee, Buffalo. But I do kind of like those Chargers. I think they could be exciting. They could be. They got exciting players on offense and defense. NFC. Take a look at that, man. Philadelphia's got it wrapped up, man. They got it wrapped up. Home field. Just unfortunate. Their quarterback went down. Dan, I think, and I'm not with you as far as you didn't give Philadelphia a chance. They were completely probably my favorite at this point. Although them Rams keep surviving. But anyway, what I was saying is I think Carson Wentz does make a huge difference because I've said this before. It's what he does when the huddle breaks down teams. I think he's become the natural leader, and I think that defense is good enough. So I think they could have made it.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the Eagles were probably the favorites in the NFC if Carson Wentz didn't go down, without a doubt. But I don't see Nick Foles winning a Super Bowl. I don't see Nick Foles making a Super Bowl as a starting quarterback, maybe as a backup to Wentz. But I'm not the Eagles took a huge dip. I mean, I think you saw that when they almost lost to a Giants team on Sunday. I mean, that was bad. Their defense got shredded by Eli Manning. So my number one fantasy quarterback finally showed up a year and a half later.
Yeah, almost 2 years, man.
Yep. So I mean, he shredded that defense, and you look at the rest of the NFC. I mentioned the Vikings. I love their defense. I think that's another, just like Jacksonville, Super Bowl caliber defense. But Case Keenum's not going to win a Super Bowl. I don't care how great he's playing in the regular season. It's different in the playoffs, and Case Keenum is not going to win you a playoff game or a Super Bowl. It's just not going to happen. When you look at the whole NFC, to me, I mean, the Rams, I like what they do. They completely beat up the Seahawks last week. But is Jared Goff going to win you a Super Bowl? I always look at the quarterbacks. I don't think he will.
Man.
He looks great. I have a huge man crush on Sean McVay. I think he's going to win Coach of the Year and is going to be absolutely fantastic for his career. But I don't see it happening. Out of all the teams right now in the playoffs, this is going to sound homerish. If the Cowboys get in, I think they are the most dangerous team in the NFC. But they need so much help. I don't think it's going to happen. So I would pick the Saints. I mean, Drew Brees, you know what you're getting in him. He's a Super Bowl proven quarterback.
Well, and then check this out too, Dan, because, and this is what I'm looking at the list here, because like you said, without Carson Wentz and you think Philadelphia is vulnerable, well, then they're going to be hosting that divisional round game. So they're very suspect to get beat right then and there. So who's it going to be? It's going to be a team like the Rams or the Saints or the Panthers. I'm sorry, not Ram. Well, it could be the Rams, but Saints, Panthers, Falcons, some of these lower tier teams that are just going to squeak in and make a run, like your Dallas Cowboys or the Seattle Seahawks. So Philadelphia is going to be facing one of those teams, and I don't know that I'd want to face any one of those right now without Carson Wentz. Panthers, Falcons, Lions, even Seahawks, Cowboys. I mean, look for that to be an upset.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, right now, if the playoffs started today, I would have the Saints as the favorite in the NFC to make the Super Bowl, and it's on the back of Drew Brees. Even though the Saints have become more of a running team this year than ever before, it's just who you can rely on in the playoffs. I trust Drew Brees a lot more to not turn the ball over, to make that play that you need him to make over a Case Keenum, over a Jared Goff, or a Nick Foles. So. The playoffs, a lot of it comes down to quarterback play and defense, and there's a lot of great defenses out there. So I think it's going to be that quarterback play that makes that difference when it comes to making a Super Bowl appearance.
I think most of those defenses are pretty tough. Philadelphia is no slouch. You got Vikings, Rams. The Saints are much improved. You got the Panthers, who are tough.
I think the NFC is going to be a lot harder to predict rather than the AFC.
I have no clue. I seriously have no clue.
Yeah, because you look at Carolina, Cam's been playing pretty good. I like the Saints a lot, but I'm not ready to count out Case Keenum. I don't know if Dan has a point, but I'm not gonna count him out as a one and out right away. The Rams, it's the Eagles. Yeah, I see them getting bounced pretty quick. Not because I'm being biased towards them, but because what the whole quarterback situation. But it's a lot harder to predict as NFC rather than AFC because there's a lot of great teams coming out of the NFC and going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm sticking. He said Falcons all along. They still got a shot. I mean, they just got to turn into the Falcons again, get out of that Super Bowl hangover funk. But and I'm with you guys with the Saints. I really like the Saints. It's just going to all depend on matchups because I do still like the Vikings. I disagree with Dan about Case Keenum. I think he's good enough to do what you got to do to win. He's got weapons all around, and that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, no, I like what he's been doing too. Again, he has a point because we haven't seen him in the playoffs. But I really do like the Vikings. I'm actually rooting for them. I hope the Cowboys get into it, but if they don't, for whatever get into the playoffs, like I'm heavily rooting for the Vikings. I love what they've been doing.
It's gonna be awesome if the Rams meet the Vikings and Case Keenum gets to stick it to the Rams.
It's gonna be awesome. We get like a Rams and Jaguars Super Bowl. Wouldn't that be crazy?
Roger Goodell would hate it.
Yeah, that's true. So the NFC is just a mess, man. I think the AFC is a little bit more structured. I honestly think it's New England or the AFC will be representing the Super Bowl by New England or Pittsburgh. I'm not saying anything else. That's just my belief. But the NFC is a little bit more wishy-washy. No clue right now. I just wish Carson Wentz wouldn't have gone down. But then again, we can go back in the beginning of the season of David Johnson when it went down and so on and so on. You never know. You never know what could happen. So got to play 18, 19 games to survive and really do it right. So that's the NFL, the real playoffs. Let's talk about the MFST playoffs real quick, guys. So Orlando, I don't know if you were listening earlier. It was just me and Dan, but it's the MFST crew representing. The fans were both bounced out in the semifinals. So it's Malachi David versus Dan Shaw. It all came down to that, Orlando.
Yeah, no, I saw it. It's congrats to both of them. Two MFST guy in the finals. It's great. It's good to see. And
Dan put up 181.
Wow.
Yeah, with having Todd Gurley and Kareem Hunt. Yeah.
Stuck to his guns, man. Stuck to his guns. He was like, F y'all, round week 9, 10, when all of us were like, see that slip? That slip is here. Kareem Hunt. Dan is like, F y'all, I'm sticking to my guns, and I'm going to ride them. He rode him to 181.5 points.
Yeah, and Brandon, I don't know if you recall this, but on social media, right before the Chiefs game Saturday night, I said, watch Kareem Hunt go for 150 and 2 touchdowns. He went for 155 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. We won't talk about those 50-plus receiving yards he had, but, it worked out very well for me, and I think Malachi is going to be a little scared with Kareem Hunt in my lineup for the championship.
Bold call. Bold call. It's more of Todd Gurley, though. I mean, Kareem Hunt was going to have that game again. All he had to do was just keep feeding him. I don't know why that became less of a focus somewhere in the middle of the season, but Gurley's the one that just was everywhere. Busted out. 48.5 points. It's a pretty damn good fantasy league. 181 points. So Malachi David and Dan Shaw in the championship. It's going down. What's the lineup looking like, Dan? You gonna give us a tip here?
Yeah, well, actually, I want your guys' thoughts. If you are favoring myself or Malachi, we already got Brandon's prediction. He was hashtagging Malachi some love all starting as soon as the matchup came out. So we know who Brandon's on, but
Dan, you should know I'm not rooting for you. Me and you got this thing going on. I can't have you get another championship, so I'm not rooting for you. I'll be honest on the podcast. I'm not rooting for you.
Well, you should bring some podcast love. I mean, I'm representing the podcast. Our listeners come to us for fantasy advice, so I'm the only one with respect right now because of that. I mean, the Andy Daltons of the world, it just doesn't always work out. So we need to show that we are capable of helping teams win championships. So
if you're playing a fan of the site, I'm with you, but you're playing another MFST writer, so I'm still repping MFST. I'm just not representing you because
I guess so. Yeah,
I'm not letting you take over this title crown that we got going on here. I'm not ready to concede the streak.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the preview, and I like my odds. Gurley and Hunter are tops over his McCaffrey and Murray. He has Thielen and Marvin Jones as his wide receivers. To my
Russell Wilson against your Cowboys.
Yep, and that's the thing, Marcus Mariota. I don't want to say anything because I have a waiver claim in. I'm hoping a non-playoff team doesn't snipe me somebody.
Speaking of that should be a rule for next year because I'd agree with you that I agree for teams who don't make playoffs should touch the waiver.
I'm not sure you can control that.
No, you could at least implement.
Yeah, that's going to be implemented. The council has already been decided.
Bang the gavel. Yeah, it's good. It's going to be written somewhere in the bylaws of MST fantasy football. I like his defense. He's got the Steelers versus Houston this week. That could be dangerous. But yeah, running backs. You definitely got him on running backs, man. He's got McCaffrey and Latavius Murray, and then C.J. Anderson at the flex spot.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no. Looking at, I mean, I don't know if Devontae Adams is playing, right? He might sit out after suffering that scary hit.
Well, let's hope not.
Yeah, okay. No. Other than that, out of your big three, Gurley, Hunt, and Thomas, I hope we get you entertain us. All I can say, you and Malachi. It should be a great finals. But I think Dan, looking at his players' matchups, it's going to be hard for Malachi to overcome Dan. I don't know about Mariota at the QB position though, going against the Rams. Other than that, I don't know if Malachi's players are going to be able to outscore Dan's.
Yeah,
I know that's not what Brandon wants to hear.
Yeah, no, I like Dan's team better too. I mean, at this point, yeah, you got Gurley, Hunt, Thomas, like you said. Evan Ingram's no slouch. I mean, they got nothing to lose there in New York, so he could be getting a lot of targets. Deshaun Jackson, which has got a questionable tag right now, but I think he's okay at Carolina. But he's also got he could play Joe Mixon, which I like the Joe Mixon a lot in my flex spot right there, maybe. I mean, he's got options. So, yeah, I think Dan's should win this, but I haven't predicted.
You know what happened last year when the worst team won? So it is possible.
No, the hot team is more like it. The hot team. That's what you meant to say.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that.
I was good. I was good all season long. Y'all never could bury me. You could never bury me. And that's what a champion, that's the characteristic a champion portrays. And that's what Malachi is portraying this year. Hadn't been the best all year, but keeps tapping away. And y'all let him make the playoffs. Now it's trouble. But yeah, I like your squad a lot better, Dan. But hey, Orlando, I had to reclaim the Pick'em title this week because I had an awesome week. I'm not sure I lost more than 2 or 3 games.
Yeah, no, I got to look at the record. I know I lost a couple of games. there's a bunch of close games, but whatever. Week 16, I'll make sure to study a little bit better. It's actually pretty close between me and you, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's been tit for tat. We buried Dan Chalk a long time ago.
It's like each week I either have you or you have me. It's
oh man, I've had some bad weeks. The week before last was deplorable. That's the NFL to me this year. Like we were talking about earlier, man. It's just been so hard to predict. A lot of teams like that just did not live up to what they should have for whatever reason. But it's all still going to play out. Fantasy championship this week in the My Fantasy Football League, and real playoffs in the NFL coming up real soon. So what we're going to do next is get into those big bag of mailbag questions you guys submitted and answer them all. Coming up next. You're listening to and watching My Fantasy Podcast from MyFantasySportsTalk.com. Thank you. All right. So let's start it off. We're just going to not even going to break it up by sport. We're just going to go straight down the list here. First one comes from Pizza Man Brown. I've never seen two people struggle with the word Lithuania than I did last week attempting to watch this episode. He said attempting to watch. He couldn't even make it through it. Like, damn, these guys can't even pronounce Lithuania. I'm stopping the show. But anyway, attempting to watch the episode, but LeVar can say it, I bet. I kid. Real question. I have Zeke returning. Do I start him over Gurley or Kamara? No. Flex. So no flex. And that's the kicker to me. No flex. What the 1 point PBR. And I'm in the shippy ship. Pizza Man Brown. What did you want to say, Orlando?
No, that's a tough question. I mean, oh man, I don't have
no flex. That sounds like some Dan would implement a year after I won the championship.
No, because
no flex, no IR. Deal with it.
Look at Dan cracking back. Man. Yeah, man, I don't even know how to answer this question because you're not benching Gurley and Kamara at being at home against Atlanta after losing a close game like 2 weeks ago. Oh, man, I'm going to pass it to Dan because I don't know what I'm doing here. Honestly, don't know. Either I don't know if he has his problem or he's just calling in to brag or sending a message to brag because it seems like a pretty damn good problem to have.
Yeah, definitely the best problem. It's like the 3 best running backs, right?
I'm assuming he picked up. I'm assuming someone dropped Zeke and he probably picked him up, is what I'm assuming, or he got him some.
It could be a small league too.
And Kamara, I mean, he was drafted late in a lot of leagues too, so he could have.
He wasn't expected. He wasn't expected to have the time shared that he has. But
yeah.
Sure.
Anyway, Dan? Did you actually see last week when me and we took?
I went back and I watched. I tried to find this Lithuania part to figure it out, and yeah, I heard it, and I was okay. I shook my head a little bit. Yep, Lithuania.
It just lost me. It lost.
It happens. It happens to the best of us.
I just overthought it. Yeah. Lithuania. But yeah. LeVar got to my head. That's all it was.
Yeah, so I mean, for Pizza Man, it's definitely a good problem to have. I'm going to go out on a limb and kind of go outside the box. I would bench Gurley. You might think it's crazy, but Zeke's going to get his touches. The Cowboys are going to feed Zeke as much as they possibly can. And Kamara, I just like him in the PPR format. That he's going to get his numbers too. So it's going to be unconventional. It sucks that this is for the championship because this one move could cost you anything. But I mean, if you're coming to us, I'm not benching Zeke in any league. You think coming off his suspension. I mean, I don't know if you saw those pictures of Zeke working out, but he's ready to play. So I'm not benching him. So I'm going outside the box, unconventional. And bench Gurley. But if you want to play the safe route, I think you have to bench Zeke, but I just wouldn't.
Well, especially if you held on to him for 6 weeks. I mean, why are you going to bench him one more week, especially if you waited for this moment?
Yeah.
And you think Kamara has a bigger potential than Zeke out of that life. You had to choose one. You think you're not – is Kamara – are we at to that level where Kamara is not benchable for Ezekiel Elliott?
Yeah, I mean, in a PPR too. I mean, that's where
Yeah.
more geared to. I have Kamara in a 1 point PPR league, and I don't think he's gotten less than 20 points besides the game that he left early. In the first quarter in probably 8 straight weeks at least. And some of those were 30-point games. I mean, he just gets the catches. He gets 7 catches, and he can always bust one for 20 yards. So, you're always gonna have in receptions alone. He's getting you double digits. So I would be able to bench Kamara.
Wow, that's just something that we've reached that point where you're not even going to be bench Alvin Kamara, rookie, for Ezekiel.
I mean, I think those 3 backs next year are all first-round picks. Just to give you an idea, I mean, they're probably top 5 picks. Those are going to be 3 of the first 5.
So that's something you weren't here to talk about last week, Dan. We talked about that. Is Kamara a first-rounder now?
Oh, without a doubt. I would take him over Ingram. Without question.
Even if the team is assembled the way it is, because I don't think he's overtaking Ingram. I think he's just going to be that side piece like he is right now, which gets a lot of action.
Yeah, I mean, he's still getting almost 20 touches a game. So, without a doubt, I think he's a first-round pick, and I would say he's a top 5 pick.
Okay, all right. And where does that leave Ingram?
I don't have Ingram as a first-round pick.
But Kamara's numbers aren't that greater than Ingram. I mean, who is actually leading?
When you're looking at a PPR format, I think Kamara would have more points, just due to the receptions he gets. I mean, Ingram has some nice receiving games, but I just think Kamara is way too valuable. I mean, especially going into next year, you have Ingram another year older, Kamara another year into the system. I like Kamara's upside a lot more than Ingram's.
Okay, what we're gonna see here is that they're actually 4-5. Alvin Kamara is slightly ahead as far as fantasy production in our league, which is PPR this year.
Half-point PPR, yes,
but it counts.
Yes.
So it's Todd Gurley, Le'Veon Bell, Kareem Hunt, Alvin Kamara, then Mark Ingram, which they are separated by 6.5 points. So it's close, man. It's close. So that's what I understand what you're saying, Dan. You got Alvin Kamara way up here, but Mark Ingram.
Because we're talking about next year. I don't think Ingram's going to be able to reduplicate this type of success.
Well, I think Kamara helps them with a little bit more of that success because
I think they all help each other. Drew Brees helps both those guys.
Yeah, but I think Kamara, I kind of agree with that. He just seems like right away, right after they got rid of Peterson, he got more of a timeshare. Like he made most of his work because after Peterson, it was more of Ingram getting in work, and Kamara was just doing a little bit more with the limited carries he was getting.
Mm-hmm. So that's crazy, man. I don't know. That's a tough cause, which I stayed with Orlando. I don't really know, but I'm more perplexed that you don't have a flex, to be honest with you, in that league. That's tough, man. That's kind of boring.
I played in leagues where it's like a flex of a wide receiver tight end only. So, I mean, where you're not
you can change it. Yeah, you can change it to you can change it to 2 quarterbacks, or something like that. But to have no flex, I got a feeling this is a no flex 6 or 8 man league because it seems to be very talent rich. I'm not necessarily saying what Orlando is saying when he picked Ezekiel up. I think he probably drafted all these guys. I think it's a smaller league. To have all those guys, damn. That's crazy, but nice problem to have, man. I don't know what to tell you. I honestly don't know what to tell you. So y'all are thinking Zeke's going to get work this week, and the Cowboys are not technically eliminated from the playoffs, right?
They need if the Falcons win, the Cowboys are eliminated basically. So the Cowboys need to win out. They need the Falcons to lose.
Well, I think we need them to lose the last 2, but I think them losing to New Orleans is very possible this week. So that does give us hope. And then I think they got Carolina in week 17, if I'm not mistaken.
It has to be a divisional opponent. Everybody ends on a divisional opponent. So yeah, that would make sense.
Giants,
so it's possible. But then the Cowboys also need the Lions to lose one of the next 2 games as well. And I don't know if there was one more team in there. I mean, the Cowboys' chances are very slim.
That's what I was trying to get to. How much do you even play Ezekiel Elliott, and why?
Oh, you play him in week 16. You give him the ball every single time. I mean, you don't limit him at all. In week 17, if they're eliminated, I can see it. But they're still fighting for their lives. I mean, I don't know if you caught any of that game Sunday night, but it was probably one of the best Cowboys games I've seen. Just the energy, and the team knew it was win or go home. So they're going to be playing that way week 16. I mean, Chris Jones, the punter, calling his own number on a fake punt was the best play I've seen all season. But the Cowboys are going to do whatever they can to win that game this week, and then they'll take their chances in week 17 to see if they're still alive.
I kind of agree with that, just because the record of 8-6, you're not technically eliminated, so you got to go for it all this week. And I agree with that, but man, I don't really know. I think it's over. Well, y'all just mentioned the improbabilities of them making it, even if they did win out, So I don't know. I think it's over. He served a 6-game suspension. I'd say let this be a done-for season. Let it be a learning experience for Dak, hopefully. Let's bounce back next year. But, yeah, he's probably going to play this week. But – and tough dilemma. Don't know what to tell you. Next one, we're going to go ahead and give a mention to our man, because he didn't know this. He didn't know no better. And we just found out about this for the podcast about Aaron Rodgers. But our man, Jank Reed, said, Fantasy Football Championship question. Do you trust A-Rod this week? I have him or Breeze. And I was going to say Breeze anyway. You don't give up an opportunity to not play Drew Brees at home against the Falcons ever in any situation in life. I don't care who it was, Aaron Rodgers or whatever. So I was going to say Drew Brees regardless, especially since Aaron Rodgers did not really look good last week. I mean, he put up numbers, but the arm strength was clearly not there, and I'm not sure I trust that over a Drew Brees at home against the Atlanta Falcons in any situation. So I was going to go Breeze anyway, but noted right before the podcast came on, they placed him on IR for the season. So Rodgers is not an option anymore. But what were you going to tell Jake, Dan?
Yeah, Breeze too. I mean, Rodgers is playing Minnesota, and that secondary, you don't ever want to really start a quarterback against the Vikings secondary. So, Breeze all the way. Trust it, and I like that matchup against the Falcons.
Right decision by Green Bay, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, it stinks for my one fantasy league because I'm in the championship and I picked him up last week. So it's tough for me there. But yeah, for Green Bay's long-term outlook, of course.
How if Aaron Rodgers would not have went down? You said they just barely missed the playoffs. They were hanging in there as much as they could without him. But with Aaron Rodgers, do you think it would have been much different of a season? Would you have put them in the thick of the NFC conversation?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they would have been a playoff team. I wouldn't envision them losing as much as they did with Hundley. Probably where Carolina is, that fifth seed or so. I don't know if that defense is good enough to be a Super Bowl caliber team, but anytime you have Aaron Rodgers, you can win a game. So they could have pulled off a couple playoff wins for sure.
Into like a Philadelphia. Next thing you know, they're in the NFC Championship.
Exactly.
So, Orlando, what would you have said?
No, I'm gonna go the opposite. I would have said Aaron Rodgers. He's at home too.
Minnesota?
I mean, well, he is at home too. I mean, look, he didn't completely kill you against Carolina. He had 3 picks, but if it wasn't for those 3 picks, you're basically getting 30 points with the guy who's not fully healed. Like, I mean, come on. Drew Brees isn't necessarily lighting it up either. I mean, it's more of Ingram and Kamara doing their damages and getting the short passes, but Drew Brees doesn't have to sling it either. So that's a good thing for Brees. Where I think where Green Bay doesn't have what New Orleans does in the run game. I mean, they got Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones, but they're nothing like Ingram and Kamara. So I think Rodgers would have to throw a little bit more. So, I would lean to Rodgers, but obviously you're not doing that anymore. So it's Breeze. But I would have went opposite.
There you go. I think you're okay with Breeze, but tough news about Rodgers and just kind of a lost season for Green Bay. All right, the next one is like our mailbag Christmas card. We got a Christmas card in the mail this week, Dan. It's from the Pertons. Hey, guys, hope all is well. Happy holidays from our family to yours. Nothing exciting over here. Grizz stink, Titans stink, Spurs kind of stink lately. Tigers bowl game thoughts, Fantasy Football League Championship from Nick and Judy Pertons. We talked about the Fantasy Football League. Know what's happening there. There's nothing really new to report about the Grizzlies, unfortunately. There's nothing really new. We talked about the Titans. They just ain't got it. They just ain't got it, man. They're not that team. They did not turn this corner this year. And the Jacksonville Jaguars did. And so it's going to be another year. I'm not sold on the coach. I'm not sold on the coaching situation. So they need a little shake up here. We got too much talent to the offensively just not be looking good. So let's change that up, man. Tigers bowl game. Tigers are going to be in the Liberty Bowl, Dan, for the first time ever.
Yeah, congratulations, Memphis Tigers. I would have. I'm sure they probably are a little upset with that, just because they had their opportunities against UCF.
Right, sites were higher for sure. Sites were higher, but this is still historic.
And it's still a victory because they were able to keep Norvell. And I think that was the biggest win of this kind of before the bowl game starts. They were able to keep their head coach, signing him to an extension. So I think that's their biggest win with it. And then for the Tigers themselves, I think it's an Anthony Miller kind of Riley Ferguson show. One last chance to show the scouts what they got. I think you saw Brandon, but I brought out my NFL Draft Big Board pre-bowl game, and your boy Anthony Miller came in at number 15, my number 2 wide receiver so far in the NFL Draft this year.
There you go. Man, I thought it was higher than that. I thought he's 13, but still very high, and I don't think you're alone. He's climbed up some draft boards really damn quick. So yeah, man, it actually should be a quality opponent to an Iowa State, who has beat Oklahoma number 3 in the country this year and TCU number 4 in the country this year. You know, they've got some bad losses too. They just kind of fumbled their way through Big 12 play. But then they beat the number 3 and number 4 teams in the country this year. Oklahoma being one of them. So they can play, but at home in the Liberty Bowl, I just kind of see the Tigers offense just surpassing, doing what it takes. Second leading offense in the nation at 48 points per game. They're throwing for 340 yards a game. I mean, damn. I mean, he's averaging almost 350 a game. That's crazy through the air. So, yeah, I see that prestigious or a historic game for Memphis anyway, being in Liberty Bowl, because the chances are rare for that to even happen. It was kind of fluky this year, I think, how it happened with Ole Miss, not being bowl eligible and being bowl eligible with probation, but being bowl eligible, it kind of opened up a kind of a weird wormhole for to Memphis to grab through. But yeah, their sights were set higher than the Liberty Bowl. But man, it's gonna be a party. Gonna be a party in Memphis, December 30th, Saturday, a week from Saturday. So, Orlando, you answered the last half of this question here about the Spurs. I didn't really notice a slide, but Kawhi's just kind of been up and down, quiet return, but they should be working their way back.
Yeah, I was gonna say, was that Nick who wrote that in? I mean, they had 2 back-to-back losses against the Mavericks, and then they got destroyed by the Rockets. But other than that, they've been on a 2-game winning streak. They bounced back against the Mavs, and then they beat the Clippers just last night. So yeah, we got Kawhi back. So the Spurs, they're still in the top 3. Kawhi only had like 7 points the other night, so they're slowly working him back in with the minutes. They're very, very cautious with them, so it'll be all right. The Spurs, once they get Kawhi back, and plus they got to start learning how to play with Kawhi again. Aldridge is still the superstar. He's still lighting it up, so it's just a matter of time before they start molding back together.
Yeah. So I was like, Kawhi, man, he came back, put up numbers. I didn't win any money the other night, though, Orlando. When I asked you, was Kawhi going to play? I wanted to kind of get a feel from you. Was he going to play a lot more minutes? Were they going to increase it to like 25, and he could have, easily 30 fantasy points? Or what?
Yeah, no, I fell for that too. I apologize. Pop said we're going to play him some more minutes so he could get into rhythm, and it blew up in my face too. So Newbury, I apologize to you.
Yep, it happens. It wasn't solely on that. I took a flyer, but his value was still pretty high for a guy that's going to play 15 minutes. They were still charging $7,100 for him, so that's kind of high. But I thought he could bust out and have a MVP type game if he was truly healthy and back. So I don't know, but appreciate appreciate the drop in, Purton's family. We'll see what happens. But I was telling Dan, I think earlier before we came on the air, Nick, that my sports life has just sucked this football season. And right now, it's been in a funk, man, with just everything, man. Nick, you know this, dude. Everything, as far as locally anyway. Titans ain't good. Memphis basketball ain't that good. The Tigers have been great. Really, the only bright spot. But Grizzlies ain't good. I mean, what the hell just happened? And the football season's so unpredictable. So it's been just kind of in a funk, man. But we'll see what happens in 2018. We're going to jump into some more mailbag questions next and answer a question that some of us answered last week, but we're going to talk about it again. Talk about that NBA West and who actually is the best team out west in the NBA. You're listening to and watching My Fantasy Podcast from MyFantasySportsTalk.com. We appreciate it. We appreciate every minute watched on the podcast. The next question comes from Andre Pike. Are the Rockets better than the Warriors? And I thought we decided this last week, guys. I thought we talked about this. I'm going to have to turn it over to my other guys who weren't on the podcast and see what they have to say. Dan, let you start it out. The Rockets overcome the Warriors already.
My Warriors hate is coming out a little bit because
I'm surprised it even took that long.
So badly, I wanted to say yes. The Rockets are better. I was watching a little bit of them the other night, and they're just so good offensively. It's like watching the Warriors 2.0 out there with Chris Paul at point guard. The way he passes the ball. The Rockets have shooters. Obviously, your superstar in James Harden. So, I would say right now, yes, Steph Curry is hurt. That has a lot to do with it. But I'm going to need to see it in the playoffs to actually believe it. A lot of it is just me talking right now. But I would need to actually see it on the court to believe it.
Yep. One of my very last points to make. So, yep, spot on, Dan. Orlando, man, you got a stake in this thing. So you tell me. We're talking about the other guys in the West, the only two teams really with much of a say above your San Antonio Spurs. Are the Rockets better than the Warriors now?
Hell no. No, I gotta say no. I like what the Rockets are doing. They're very dangerous. It's very possible that they may get to the Western Conference Finals, but just like Dan mentioned, I got to see it in the playoffs. We've seen the Rockets kill it several times in regular season, but Chris Paul, even with the Clippers, as good as he's been, he's never made it past the second round, as hard as that is to believe. We saw James Harden completely disappear against the Spurs last season when he should have put the team on his shoulders. With no Kawhi that game either, so to say. And, and I like what they're doing. They got Clint Capella and Nene. Chris Paul, when he's healthy, James Harden is a monster. I really love the Rockets this season, but until I see it in the playoffs, I'm going to have to say no.
Yep, and I do too, man. I like what the Rockets are doing. Chris Paul traditionally doesn't make it very far in the playoffs, and I'm completely with you guys. I would agree with that, is that I have to see it in the playoffs. But personally, I don't care. I really don't care who it is or what it looks like. No one is beating the Golden State Warriors in a 7-game series if they are healthy, because it's not only they got superstars too. It's just that team moves the ball so well and leads the NBA in blocks too. If you wouldn't figure that, they're just scrappy on defense. But they move the ball so well, so unselfish, just too much talent there, too many shooters. No one's beating them. But I'll tell you what you guys missed. One of the key facts that I pointed out last week and what you guys missed about this breakdown, because we talked about the same damn question. But right now, the Rockets have played the 7th weakest schedule in the NBA, and the Warriors have played the 2nd toughest schedule in the NBA so far. So let's let the schedule play out too. It's still very, very early, and it's going to catch up to the Rockets, and we'll see how it happens. I guess they're still undefeated with Chris Paul, though, right, Dan?
Yeah, I think so. So you just can't beat them. This is basically what's going on right now. Undefeated. That's what that means, Brandon.
With Chris Paul. Yeah,
yes.
I got you.
Undefeated, huh?
7th week of schedule so far in the NBA. So we'll see if they can continue that. But Andre Pike, now for bonus coverage, go back and watch last week's podcast. That would be episode 37, and we talked a little bit more about that. So I just don't think so, man. I think everyone's reaching and trying to say a team could be better than Golden State so bad, but it ain't. It ain't happening. Although I am very interested in seeing what Cleveland looks like when IT finally comes back. I really am, because that's going to add a very interesting dynamic to that team, which is starting to soar anyway. So that's going to be interesting. I can't wait. What are they saying on him? January, maybe?
Yep. That's what I heard.
Okay. So we'll see and keep up with that. So next question. We talked about this, but I want to give our man a shout out. It's from Tom Brady is your mama's goat.
Say what?
That's what Dez thinks about it. Yeah. Dez was like, y'all hear that? Dez like, what? It was not a catch by the rule book. Do you agree? Hang on. For Tom Brady is your mama's goat by the rule book. 64 -80 in the rule book. That's not a catch. Oh my God, get off of it, people. Use your eyes. Think about football in your backyard. We're ridiculous to the point that we're analyzing and critiquing these replays. It is ridiculous when it's called a touchdown on the field. But what do you want to say to your Tom Brady mom?
I agree with you. I mean, nothing. We hashed it all out. We know it wasn't a catch, so I agree. Hope your mother as well.
Dan, I'm gonna let you borrow my glasses, okay? I mean, it's not by the rule book. So, but yeah, we hit on that a lot. But appreciate the question. Tom Brady is your mama's goat, aka whoever you are. It's I don't know. We'll address it in the summer meetings. That's what I got to tell you. The next question comes from Ray Rothschild. Will Hugh Jackson actually coach in Cleveland next year? They have to take a QB with one of their top 2 picks or one of their 2 top 10 picks, right? Rosen possibly. Ray Rothschild wants to know, and Cleveland could be a real life draft day scenario for Cleveland this year, Dan. They got 2 firsts and 3 seconds, if I'm not mistaken. They got a ton in the first 2 rounds. So looking to do it again. But to me, no, Hugh Jackson is safe. Hugh Jackson's not going anywhere. It's completely not his fault. You got to know that. Ownership has to know that. I'm sure he has the Haslams have his back at this point. I'm not seeing any indication that Hugh is in jeopardy at all here, Dan.
Well, how is it not his fault?
Lack of talent. You fired their GM just a couple of weeks ago. There's no way he can take the bait for this.
Not completely, but with the quarterback play, you got to put some of that on him with the carousel.
But who does he have? What are the options? What are the options at quarterback?
You got to put some of the blame on Hugh Jackson. I'm sorry. I'm not going to completely just let him off the hook here. I know, like with the GM firing, stuff like that, he has no control over. But on the field play, I mean, you got to, come on, 0-16, you got to put something together. I'm not going to completely say that it's not all on Hugh Jackson. I'm sorry, but that's just complete BS to me.
Yeah, I mean, if they go 0-16 this year, that means he's 1-31 during his tenure with the Browns. So yeah, I mean, I think he definitely has to take some of the blame. John Dorsey, now there's been conflicting reports from what I've seen that when John Dorsey was hired as GM, he said, no matter what, Hugh Jackson will be coming back next year. But there's been reports that John Dorsey really isn't sold on Hugh Jackson. I still do expect him to come back. But whenever it's a GM coming in and they keep the coach, that coach is always on very thin ice. So Hugh Jackson could lose his job very early into 2018. So I think he will coach next year, yes. But I don't know how much of a long leash he will have anymore, because the bottom line is you have to start to win, and one win in 2 years isn't going to keep your job safe for too long, I would say.
Yeah, but it's the Browns. I've seen this over and over. Sure, yeah, you can get rid of Hugh Jackson and keep the coaching carousel going again, but you're still going to be the Browns. This ain't the first streak you've had like this.
Yeah.
So it's talent, man. Honestly, I do not think that the Cleveland Browns line up near enough talent to go against the opposing team each and every Sunday. They just don't. They just don't. I don't care what the coaching schemes are. If you ain't got the talent, you just ain't got the talent. But it's the same old Browns. I'm more about, I don't know. You need to eventually develop some consistency, even if it's losing. I mean, learn how to lose well, but you can't keep changing coaches every 3 or 4 years, especially for the Browns. You need to stick with something. I don't think it's necessarily Hugh Jackson. I guess I have a lot of pity for anyone who takes that job. I think they need to give a lot longer leash in the dog pound because, man, the franchise has been horrible. So we know. It's not necessarily coaching. So there's been a pattern here. So it ain't just coaching. It ain't just quarterback play. It's a lot of things in Cleveland. So we'll see. That carousel will go. Jeff Fisher in Cleveland, maybe. If there's one team that can give a guy a last shot, right?
Yeah, that's all Fisher needs is to add on to his all-time loss record.
If no one else is giving him a job, you wouldn't take the Cleveland job?
No.
And y'all want to fire Hugh Jackson. So exactly. Man, that's crazy. Okay. Appreciate the question. Who was that? Ray Rothschild. All right, so Dan, let's move on and talk a little baseball. I know you missed it last week with Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani, yeah. You missed the conversation with him last week. DDT was coming fresh off that big signing of Giancarlo Stanton. That you got to miss that talk last week. So we're going to talk about it this week, and it's your boy, the owner, Jerry Jones. You got a vested stake in what's going on in the Yankees out there. Jerry Jones wants to know, Yankees favorites heading into 2018, they got to be. So my quick spiel is that not quite yet. To me, Houston Astros didn't lose anybody. They're coming back. They were consistently the best team all year, I think, last year. They're bringing all those pieces back. I think they got to be the favorites. I think the Yankees are still a really good starter away, maybe a couple of bullpen moves away. You got to just shore up the pitching just a little bit more, at least add one more solid starter, I believe, for the playoffs, thinking ahead to the playoffs. But they are going to be the most exciting team. It's going to be like a home run derby every damn night watching the Yankees play. And I think you'll see that. And the indication will be when the national TV schedule comes out. So Astros still favorites, I think, but Yankees going to be damn fun to watch. Dan, who's going to be the favorite?
Yeah, I think ultimately it's the Astros champ until they're dethroned. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Astros. But with baseball, I think that's the most difficult to predict each and every year. And we still have a ton of off season to go. I mean, there's going to be a lot of stuff that goes down.
Last year, everybody said that was going to be Cleveland. Cleveland bouncing right back to the World Series, probably favored more so over the Cubs. And neither one of them made it.
Right. So I mean, it's a complete crapshoot, and with free agency just really starting to kick off, you're seeing all the trades and stuff. But there's going to be a lot of names switching teams, so it's tough to predict now. The Yankees, I mean, they were able to re-sign CC Sabathia. They still have a lot of their rotation intact: Sonny Gray, Masahiro Tanaka. Your usual names, but to me, they're still going to need to add some pitching as the season goes along, because those names in their rotation haven't proved to be able to stay healthy. So that's what scares me the most. We know they can hit the ball, but pitching is going to be where it comes in. Their bullpen is great, but it's going to be starting pitching. I'm going with the Astros, of course, as the favorites, mainly because they won it last year. You can't until somebody beats them, they still are in my mind. But there's going to be a lot of teams and players moving. The Astros just had a meeting today with Yu Darvish. So if they were able to grab Darvish, away from the Dodgers and get another premier top of the arm pitcher, I mean, that's only going to help them. So there's going to be a lot of moves taking place, and it's going to be a fun winter in terms of the MLB offseason.
And so something you really didn't get to touch on, Dan, and the question was pretty much for you. It was written for you. Me and DDT couldn't do it justice, or at least I couldn't for sure. But talking about last week, the Shohei Ohtani situation, looking like is he the next big real deal, the next phenom, so to speak, or is the injury situation? I mean, what is his outlook? Is he going to be a superstar over here in the major leagues?
Yeah, when I first found out that he signed with the Angels, I was upset because obviously the Angels in the Astros division, it's only going to make things difficult. I mean, you never know how a player from Japan is always going to translate. But I think Ohtani is the real deal, not only pitching, but hitting. I think he's going to do it all. And he's not only going to do it all like that, but he's going to completely revolutionize fantasy baseball. I still don't know how he's going to be used, whether there's been talk that there's going to be two Shohei Ohtanis in fantasy baseball, one as a pitcher and one as a hitter, and you can draft either one, you can draft both, but it's going to be two separate players because of his impact.
They'd have to rewrite their bracket code and their chart code to even facilitize a player.
When I read that's crazy to me. But I didn't know how he's going to have an impact. So he's making such an impact on the fantasy baseball community. There's some uproar, there's some outrage. They don't know what to do with him. But the reason why there is all this outrage because of it, because I believe Ohtani is going to be special, and people know that. So you're going to see something that we really haven't seen before. We've never seen that pitcher that can hit and does do it consistently. So I'm excited to watch it happen. And not only that, he's going to get pitches to hit, because what I think the Angels are going to do is going to park him right before or behind Mike Trout in the lineup. So he's going to get those pitches. The pitchers aren't going to want to walk him to put a man on base for Mike Trout and vice versa. So it's really going to have an impact on how he's being pitched, and it's only going to help him become that superstar in the major leagues.
Is Pujols still a significant part of that lineup?
Only in weight.
He's the Pablo San of all of the Angels.
Yeah, he's not as bad as Pablo, but he's going to be a part-time player, I think, only in 2018. He's not going to be playing every day.
So back up and talk about Shohei. I'm sorry, how do you pronounce his first name again?
Shohei
Ohtani. The injury doesn't scare you possibly?
It's definitely concerning that came out now. I mean, there's been reports that everything is going to be fine, but I mean, a UCL tear, that's any potential of that is scary.
Asthma platelets injected into his elbow, I think. And that ain't common. You just didn't have that done.
Yeah, it's definitely concerning, but listen, the Angels signed him knowing his medical history, and I don't think they would have.
I think it all kind of that's why I got exposed that day. I think we were talking about, because he failed the physical.
Right. Yeah. So it's definitely concerning, but I'm looking positively into what Ohtani can do to impact baseball, and I think he can be special.
So getting back to the fantasy baseball thing real quick, there can't be two Ohtanis because think about drafting them. Are they going to make? Which one has the higher value? You draft the pitcher Ohtani number 8, but you still got the batter Ohtani. How that's stupid. It can only be one player.
Well, it's not really up to us as creating the leagues. It's actually, who I found this out was actually directly through Yahoo Fantasy Baseball. I actually don't use Yahoo to play, but they came out and said that's what their initial thought with Ohtani is. They're going to have that as the only option, is you have to choose one or the other. So it's definitely causing some concern, I think, between the diehard fantasy players, especially with a lot of the ones that I talk to with groups on Facebook and different things are dynasty baseball, and that's what I love the most. Keeping players on your team every single year, from the minor leagues on up. How is that going to impact that?
But talking about two different players, that's stupid, right? You can't have that.
I don't like it, but at the same time, it makes Ohtani, if he becomes this superstar, it makes him so valuable because he's giving you those hitting and pitching categories. Just think, Brandon, when we played in our league this past year, how much a starting pitcher can get. They can get you 20 to 30 points easy with the number of strikeouts. Now imagine if he's batting every single night as well.
So I mean, I think he could consensusly be the number one pick overall. That's fine. You got the best of both worlds, but you can't split the player up and have two different Otanis.
Clone it. He's getting cloned.
But anyway, so that'll be interesting. But Orlando, man, what do you think? Are the Yankees favorites? Or are you still on those Astros, or you got someone else to name?
Yeah, well, what the moves they're making, it's going to be tough. I mean, you always got to consider a team like the Yankees, who's going to have this money, who's going to do whatever they can to bring players in to fill in positions that they need to do to always be in the top when it comes to playoffs. But I'm going to say, just like I've always said, Astros, they got some guys who are going to stay. So for the meantime, I'm going to say the Astros are going to be the team to beat.
Yeah, I think we agree with that. We're not ready to ride that Yankees bandwagon, just like we're kind of not ready to declare the Rockets better than the Warriors, just like that already, despite Dan Chalk's hatred of Steph Curry and the Warriors.
His ankles are glass.
All dating back to some college stuff or something way back when he was just a youngster. That's wrong. Loving on some LeVar Ball, but hate Steph Curry. Man, you're backwards, Dan. You're just backwards. That's your baseball talk, brought to you by Jerry Jones, of all people. Believe it or not. So the last question of the day in our mailbag comes from Greg McConnell. And this one's tough. That's why I kind of marked it last and wanted to cover it last, because it's a fitting way to end the show, because to me it's a big debate. But I don't know. Maybe you guys do. Who is your NFL MVP, Dan Chalk?
Tom Brady. Simple. There's no explanation needed. He's the best player on the best team in my mind. His numbers are still fantastic, 28 touchdowns. Even his 7 interceptions feel high to me, but he's already over 4,000 yards, 67% completion percentage, 104 quarterback rating. It's Tom Brady. He's the MVP.
Orlando.
I'm gonna go with Case Keenum.
Say what?
I know it's going out of the What? No.
Hey, guys, it's been fun.
No.
Oh!
You want to give Jeff Fisher a job, but you want to laugh at me for Case Keenum, an MVP candidate for winning, for having an 11-3 record?
Are you for real? I guess my next question is, you're carrying this on kind of long. Are you for real?
I'm for real. I mean, Tom Brady's going to win it, but come on, Case Keenum, like, Sam Bradford goes down, like, you did not see Case Keenum leading the Vikings to 11-3. Like, I'm sorry, but it might be just this season. But hey, why not put him in the MVP talk? Why not? What hasn't he done that's going to make you say, to at least not consider him in the MVP talk? I mean, Tom Brady's going to be there, Le'Veon Bell.
You're going that hardcore numbers. Hey, he's driving his team to wins. I don't care about the stats. The dude's valuable, right? That's what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, he's not going to win it. It's going to, Tom Brady's going to be there, Le'Veon Bell. It's going to be those two tall guys with Antonio Brown going down. But you got to give Case Keenum a look. I'm not, there was talk about Teddy Bridgewater coming out. Even when this guy keeps winning, throwing 300 yards, 4 touchdowns here and there, what was the talk? Oh, well, we don't know if he's a quarterback for the future. We need to get a look at Teddy Bridgewater. And no, this guy just went out there and just continued to ball with players going out. I'm sorry, but I'm going to give Case Keenum the consideration, as funny as that may seem. It's not as funny as trying to give Jeff Fisher a job back, but
I will give you credit this. I do have a Minnesota Viking on my MVP list. It's not Case Keenum, it's Xavier Rhodes. But, I'm with you with the Vikings, having a player there. I think I have Rhodes here. It's more valuable, just what he's been able to do, shut down the top corners. Quarterbacks, when throwing to him, have a sub-58 quarterback rating. So I think he's the best defender in the NFL right now, at least in the secondary. So I have Rhodes as a possibility. I mean, Keenum, I think he's had a great year. MVP. I don't see. I think you can throw Teddy Bridgewater back there, and the Vikings are still 10-3.
I don't think so. I don't think you just throw him in there. I like what Case Keenum has done, and I'm sorry for it's a pretty good story. So I'm gonna throw Case Keenum in there, as funny as that may seem, but he's been pretty much the real deal. He's been pretty consistent, and I don't think he's just gonna be just one of those one and done guys. Again, it's only been one season, but it's been consistent from when he stepped in there since week 2.
Well, I guess I'm kind of a lot more with Orlando in this one, just because I'm just kind of I'm in that mood this season where I'm not going to automatically give it to the quarterback. Yes, Tom Brady's leading in most statistical categories. He is the GOAT. I've admitted that before. He definitely is the greatest. But I'm not going to automatically give it to the quarterback. I mean, I would actually look. I'm kind of along Orlando's line of thinking is who is really most valuable to his team. Of course, Tom Brady is. We know that. But Drew Brees has had a hell of a year if you want to look at quarterbacks. But I'm actually going another way. I'm going to look at Antonio Brown, who's still the best receiver and playmaker and has led his team to the best record in the AFC. But also, if you want to talk about the heart of a champion and really surpassing all the odds this year and probably being the most valuable to his team, at least an argument to a piece of it is Todd Gurley for the Los Angeles Rams. Without him, where would they be? They've turned that corner. So I'm just not looking at the quarterback automatically this year, guys. There's a lot of other stories out there. Gurley's got to be on that list, man, for real. And Breeze, too. So, but yeah, you can give it to Tom Brady and do the Dole thing, sure. But I just think there's other stories out there. But I really don't know. I mean, if I really had to say, if Carson Wentz wouldn't have went down and still been playing at a fairly high level like he has been, then I would say he's right there too. A second-year player leading his team to the best overall record in the NFL, or being the signal caller that he is, yeah, he probably would have been my pick for sure. But I don't know. That's my guys: Brady, Breeze, Brown, and Gurley. That's the guys I'm gonna say among that list if I had to choose. So, great debate. I guess we're about out of time to find that out, right? Just a couple of more weeks. So we'll see what happens. Appreciate the question, Greg McConnell, and we will revisit it. So, great show today, guys. A lot of stuff covered. Glad you guys are back for real. And a lot of good stuff going on this website right now. Dan, I've noticed there's a Ocean's 8 trailer, and I also saw another Star Wars review earlier that is not a spoiler, which is huge. So it's okay to read. Everyone click it and read it. Okay, it doesn't give away anything about the new Star Wars movie on myfantasysportstalk.com right now.
Yeah, non-spoiler review, which is great. It's been a pretty popular piece as Star Wars is. A little trivia for you guys. I have never seen a Star Wars movie, and I never. So there you go.
That was trivia or just outstanding facts.
That's a comment for you guys. I've never seen a Star Wars movie. Yeah. So what do you think about that?
Well, I'll come close to you, Dan. I hadn't seen a Star Wars movie since the one that debuted came out in '98. I don't even remember. Clone Wars, not even that one. The one right before that. I don't know. I saw the earlier ones, the originals as a kid. But no, I haven't. I don't even know what Star Wars is anymore. I don't know who the characters are, where we at in the storyline. I don't remember none of that. So, but I'm sure Orlando is definitely not that way. You know exactly what's going on, don't you?
I was gonna say I just had a marathon the other day. Always for 8 hours on Netflix watching Star Wars all day. So yeah,
pleasure, right? Not to catch up. You already seen them,
and not to catch up. And then I have a movie pass. So the other day at the Alamo Draft House, they were having a little festival going on. So I went ahead and I didn't dress up, of course, but I went ahead and enjoyed myself. There was no football on that day. Spurs weren't playing, so I said, why the hell not?
Yeah, that's not bad. I need to catch up. I seriously do, because not that I dislike it. It's just that's not my genre of movie. Neither are any of the comic book superhero movies. It's not my thing. But a lot of stuff going on the website. Man, the ESPN chairman said, "Oh, I got to walk away, Dan."
Yeah, he's an addict. Yeah, did not know that. But yeah, ESPN chairman Skipper was his name, was an addict, and he has stepped down from his duties. And it's probably a good thing because they keep firing people over there, and the ratings keep decreasing. So that might have something to do with it. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of stuff on the site. College basketball, we're still doing our fair share of coverage with that. Fantasy football leading it up to the championship. Obviously, NBA and MLB offseason. So we're pumping it up, and the NFL draft coverage is about to begin. I can't wait. I've started some of my film study, so I'm starting to watch some of the prospects, and the bowl games will be big. So I'll be watching a lot of that. But I can't wait. NFL draft is coming up, and we're gonna rock it out with the live draft show again.
Maybe the Browns draft Anthony Miller and Riley Ferguson.
You would become their new fan.
Yeah, don't put that evil on me. I don't want neither one of them guys to go to that sinking mud pit. Man.
They'll probably sign Case Keenum in the offseason.
And everyone was high on Deshaun Kaiser going into it too, and it just it just hasn't developed. But man, that's a lot of pressure to put on Deshaun Kaiser. Carry these sorry Browns for a year. So I don't know, but yes, you're right, Dan. Draft coverage is coming right around the corner, along with everything else. Right along that time, we'll start March Madness coverage. So big time coming up early in 2018. We appreciate you for joining us for episode 38 of 2017, which you just watched. So check us out next time for episode 39, 2017. So appreciate it, guys. Keep submitting the questions. Keep watching. Keep listening. WBLZsports.com. Of course, our website, myfantasysportstalk.com, on iTunes, on SoundCloud. Check us out on YouTube. All the podcasts are uploaded to our YouTube page. So appreciate it, guys. Keep checking us out. See you next time. For Orlando Torres and Dan Chalk, I'm Brandon Reed. Later. Peace.